Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone. So we are back with another life cycle after adolescence. Then of course you become an adult. So an adult there will be another perspective, another different information that you will know and you should know for the in terms of the nutritional needs. There are four outlines, four topics that we are going to discuss today. Number one, of course, we are looking at the physiological changes. After you become an adolescent, you know that you have to go through all the menstrual cycle, the maturation rate, the tennis stage, 5 tennis stage. Then after that, you become an adult. So during adult also, there are physiological changes that also can influence the need of the nutrition. Okay, number two, we are going to look at on dietary recommendations. But these dietary recommendations, we are focusing on the Malaysian dietary guidelines, and a part of the Malaysian food pyramid. Actually, Malaysia, we have also physical activity pyramid. Then we are going to look at on this physical activity pyramid or physical activity recommendations, especially for an adult. And this is also part of the key messages in the Malaysia dietary line. And last but not least, we are going to look at the special topic on the intervention and also condition of adolescents. On adult, which is overweight and obesity. So these are the topic learning outcome as I highlighted in the red color. We are going to look at on the physiological changes. So you should be able to describe the normal physiological changes in adulthood and how they are associated with the development and as well as the progression of chronic diseases. Because of these physiological changes, that's why adult people, they are more prone to get the chronic diseases. And of course, at the end of this topic also, you're going to know how to explain the purpose of dietary guidance, especially looking at the Malaysian dietary guideline and how they translate science into healthful food and beverage choices and pleasurable eating experience for adults. Number three, there's wrong in terms of the numbering here, but the third topic learning outcome. At the end of this topic, you should be able to describe the national recommendation for physical activity. You should know how much an adult should participate in physical activity and the duration and etc. And what are the benefits? Of course, you know what are the benefits of regular physical activity. And last but not least, we are going to look at on the analysis of the multiple causes of obesity. There are many causes of obesity, but of course, as a dietitian and nutritionist, you are going to look at on the nutritional part that can contribute to the obesity among adults. Okay, so for adults, what are the age range? What is the age range for the adult nutrition? This topic actually will include the aspect of adulthood from age 20 to 64. So you are part of this 20 years old. You are part of this topic and being an adult, early adulthood. And this chapter will explore the nutritional needs and also guidance aimed at helping meet those needs. Okay, that was me 20 years ago. That was me, not 20 years, I think 18. Yeah, that was me 18 or 19 years ago. Okay, so this is my early adulthood where I'm 20s. So this is when I went for further studies for masters, and I was 22 years old. So this is me. Okay, 20 years old, early adulthood. And of course, being early adulthood, you are involved, become independent, and you are leaving their parental home. So in these 20s, what happens is that you start to plan, you start to buy, and also you prepare the food. And all these are the new developing skills of being an adulthood. Of course, nowadays, for example, all of you are in the university. So these are all the skills that actually can influence your nutritional needs and also can influence in terms of your eating habits. So because you are the one who control, who plan, and also who are the one that buy the food, and you are not depending on your parents anymore. And when you become 30s, okay, during the time you already get married and you have your own small family, you have your own kids, and during that time what happens is that you try to renew your interest in nutrition for the kids sake. Okay, your focus is more on the nutritional part of your kids. So this is the early adulthood, where the 20s. Okay, and then you become a midlife. Midlife is 40s. That's why people sometimes say that life begins at 40. And I just turning 40 years old 3 days ago. Okay, so I am 40 years old this year. So during this year, of course, during that 40s life, you are more focusing in terms of your family, and yeah, this is the period of active family responsibilities. Anak-anak membesar, and you have to focus on them. At the same time, you also have a very commitment. You want to develop your career, and managing schedules and meals become very challenging. This is during this time where the family try to get, outside food, because of the commitment, because of the times they have to spend to build up the career, and at the same time they have to focus on the families. So this is where there are many changes happen in the lifestyle. And also when you are become 40s, you started to what have you done, what is your accomplishment at this age of 40s, and you are started to remember, you start to recognize of the mortality. You dah start insaf lah, yeah. Okay, and okay, sandwich generation, the 50s. Okay, the 50s, we said that sandwich generations because you are acting at a multi-generational caregivers, because when you are 50s, most of your parents are aged or like 70s and 80s, and during that time you are juggling two roles of caring for children, and at the same time you want to look after your parents, your aging parents, and at the same time also you want to maintain your career. So being a 50s is very, very challenging, and most of the chronic diseases started to build up or started to develop at this age of 50s. Okay, and health concerns frequently are added, and of course it's very important to manage identify the risk factor to prevent the diseases. Okay, you imagine this is me when I'm 60 years old. So I'm still using the same spec, and then same Bokita, and then just add on a wrinkles here. So later adulthood, when you are early 60s, so what happened, of course, you are transition to retirement. You dah start retired in Malaysia. Early retirement as early as 56 years old until 60 years old. Okay, so during that time you already retired. I have more leisure time. You can focus on yourself. Anak-anak dah besar, and you can focus on the physical activity and as well as nutrient intake. And during this time, also being later adulthood or early 60s, the food choices and lifestyle factor, especially for those with chronic diseases. Now, as a nutritionist and dietitians, okay, you should know that at this stage, being an adult, we are more focusing on the preserving the health, and of course, we want to maintain a healthy weight. So I have to maintain a healthy weight, and also delaying and preventing the onset of chronic diseases. Being an adult, you already have to focus on how you have to ensure that there are not chronic diseases in your life. Okay, so being an adult is you have still a plenty of time to maintain or to preserve your health. So the importance of nutrition is actually the span of years between 20s and 64 is a time when future cause of health and wellness are influenced by the diet, physical activity, smoking, and body weight. So they are all these that causes the future of cause of health. If you don't, take care of your health, okay, they will influence on your future health. So the example, for example, if you are not taking your health, okay, during the adulthood, okay, you are more exposing to chronic diseases such as cancer, heart disease. You can have stroke, or you can have diabetes mellitus, and also chronic liver disease. Okay, so these are all the chronic diseases that we should prevent at this stage of life as an adult, in order to ensure that when we become an elderly, we are free from this kind of chronic diseases. So how do food and nutrition enhance life? Okay, and actually nutrition and exercise are among the main lifestyle factors that can reduce the risk of onset of severity of 5 and of the 10 leading causes of death. So these are all the 5 of leading causes of death worldwide: cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and also liver disease, or fatty liver disease. So these are the figures from the prevalence of the National Health Morbidity Survey, where they found that, for example, for diabetes mellitus, 1 in 5 adults in Malaysia actually they have diabetes. So imagine there are 5 adults and one of the adults is actually a diabetic, and it's approximately about 3.9 million of people aged 18 years and above have diabetes. So you can see here there are increase in terms of diabetes, and the most worrying part is that also around 9% of the people in Malaysia, they still do not know that they have diabetes. Okay, of course, in terms of age, the older you are, the higher the prevalence of diabetes. And from here, you can see that Negeri Sembilan have the highest prevalence of diabetes. Okay. And look at another diseases. Okay, another disease in Malaysia, a part of diabetes that are very concerned, which is hypertension in Malaysia, where we can say that every 3 in 10 people in Malaysia, or 6.5 million people in Malaysia, have hypertension. And this hypertension is almost among those who are below 30 years of age. Hypertension can occur 3 times more in males. So please take care of yourself. And this happen actually during among the smokers, orang-orang yang smoke. Okay, smoker, kalau boleh anak-anak didik saya, please try not taking smoke, okay, cigarettes, jangan. And surprisingly, from this National Health Morbidity Survey, also they found that only half are aware that they have diseases, only half, which means that 50% they are not aware that they have a high blood pressure, and 90% are medications, but only 45% have their own blood pressure control. It means that 45 still tak dapat control their blood pressure. Okay, and next, chronic diseases that always happen among the adult is cholesterol. So cholesterol, it means that the cholesterol levels is more than 5.2 millimole per deciliter, okay, millimole per liter. And in Malaysia, 4 in 10 adults or 8 million adults in Malaysia have raised total cholesterol level, and it is higher among male compared to female. And in Malaysia, also 1 in 4 people, they are not aware that they actually have a high in total cholesterol. And 80% of those who have high risk with raised total cholesterol were on medications, and the rest, they don't take the medications. Okay. Next, in terms of physical activity, this is a Malaysian survey. You can see that every 1 in 4 adults in Malaysia are physically not active, and they are not active. What are the definition of active? We will look at after this. And who are the least physically activity? Mostly are the females. 28% of the females are least actively physically, and those who are 70 years and above, of course, because they are elderly. But surprisingly, when we done the survey, the National Health Morbidity Survey, where we found that 39% of them are still students and 27% are urban dwellers. And we know that as physical inactivity is the 4th leading risk factor for global mortality. It means that if you are physically inactive, physical inactivity, you are exposed into chronic diseases that also can cause the mortality. And we are recommended to reduce the physical activity by climbing stairs or taking short walks, which can increase the levels of physical activity. So these are the recommendations, and recommendation we are looking at the after this lah at the next topic learning outcome. And okay, in terms of fruits, veggies and plain water, you can say that 95% of adults, Malaysian adults, do not eat the recommended daily amount of both fruit and vegetables. You just imagine, which is only 5%. They are totally, eat according to the recommendations, where 95% of Malaysians do not eat the recommended, which is 3 servings for vegetables and also 2 servings for fruits. And you can see here in Terengganu, which is also among the highest prevalence of adults who are not taking recommended daily amount of for both fruits and vegetables. In terms of water intake, 3 in 4 people adult in Malaysia drink enough plain water every day. Okay, in terms of the sugary drinks, we can say that sugar drinks intake among Malaysian adult, where most majority of the adults in Malaysia, they have self-prepared drinks, and on average, adult Malaysian adults taking 3 spoon of sugar daily, 6 teaspoon of sugar daily of the carbonated and drinks, non-carbonated drinks, just now self-prepared drink, and 3 teaspoon of sugar daily for the premixed drinks. So you can see here, most majority of the Malaysian adults, they took the carbonated and carbonated drinks, about 6 teaspoon of sugar daily. Okay. Okay, now we look at on the physical changes during the adult years. Okay, growing stops by the 20s. By the 20s, you are not getting tall and taller. Okay, so stop taking any medications. Actually, growing stops at 20. However, for bone density, they continues until you are 30 years old. So you still have a time, okay, anak-anak semua, in terms of make sure that you have a good enough of nutrient for your bone. And muscular strength peaks around 25 to 30 years of age, and decline in muscle mass as well as the size, and increase in terms of body fat. And during this time, the dexterity also decline when you become an adult. We look at one by one what are the physical changes that happen in adulthood. Number 1 is, of course, hormone and climacteric changes. A woman, when you become an adult, there will be decline of estrogen. Declining of estrogen will cause a menopause, and this usually happen early 50s. And also when you have physiology changes, the adult also have increase in abdominal fat. For women, increase in the risk of CVD, and also accelerated loss of bone mass. So this is changes of hormonal and climacteric among the woman. For men, there's only one change, which is during for men, they have gradual decline in testosterone level as well as the muscle mass. A part of the hormonal changes become an adult, they are, of course, a body composition changes happen, where when you 40s, the bone loss begins, and that's why we are always encouraged for those who reach at 40 years old to have full medical checkup. And positive energy balance will result in weight gain and also gain weight and also adiposity, and this also cause of positive energy balance, it will decrease the muscle mass. And what happens is that also the fat distribution gains in the central abdominal space and also decrease in the subcutaneous fat. Do you know that when there is a fat distribution in our body, what happens? This is one of the cause of the increase of chronic disease. Disease. Okay, because of the fat distribution, many of adults we exposed to hypertension, insulin resistance, diabetes, stroke, gallbladder disease, as well as coronary artery disease. So this is the chronic diseases happen because of the fat redistribution that happen during adulthood. And actually, the continuum of nutrition status among adulthood can be looking at on the nutritional health. Okay, so this nutrition health can be viewed as a continuum from healthy and resilient state to terminal state, which means that when we want to advise the adulthood, there is a continuum in nutrition status, whether the adult is very healthy or in a resilient state, or they can at the stage of terminal state. Of course, terminal state means that meninggal, and this what happen is the body system shut down and life ceases. So these are the continuum of nutrition status among the adulthood. So it starts with the resilient and healthy until become a terminal illness ataupun death lah. So there are two nutrition states that happen within the continuum of nutrition states, which is metabolic, physiological, and functional status. Where when we can see from the resilient and healthy, of course you are healthy and healthy adult, your metabolic homeostasis able to defend any against injury. But when you become an alteration of the substrate availability, and what happen for certain adults, there will be a reduction of nutrient stores or accumulation of excess, and you can see here from the subclinical changes. And of course, for certain of time of stage during the adulthood, you have started to gain a few non-specific sign and system. For example, during this time, in terms of the metabolic and physiological, you can see there is there are an alterations that can be observable. And for example, you sakit-sakit, kemudian you try to diagnose, and this when you try to diagnose, ada certain yang you rasa tak kena dengan badan you, so this is part where they are in the clinical condition. They have the evidence that you are having an illness, and you have to go for medical diagnosis. After that, they will go to chronic conditions. These chronic conditions means that during this time, there is an altered metabolism and structural changes in tissue, and they become a permanent. During chronic conditions, it's very, very rare for us to do a prevention lah. Then of course, kalaulah badan kita mengalami berbagai complications and advance, the body system will be shut down. So these are the terminal illness. And in terms of when you are want to focus on nutrition guidance or education therapy, when you have a group of population or a group of adults for you to do an interventions, if the group is still in the state of resilient and healthy, the best is you are focusing on how to to support the adequate intake and also anticipate risk. But however, if you have a group of adults, in order for you to do an interventions that is in the altered substrate availability, the best you can have a dietary guidance and also give an education to inform about risk and continue to encourage them to eat healthily and also lifestyle choices. When also you become, they are still have non-specific sign symptoms, but they are not in good condition health. What you have to do is you need to give nutrition education and counseling at the same times, how to reduce. Because during this non-specific sign and symptoms, they are most probably they can go back to a normal, resilient and healthy if you are really bear with the counseling from the health professionals in order on how to reduce or to reverse the specific risk factor. But if you are still continue with a bad habits or eating habits, then it becomes a clinical conditions. For example, then you are diagnosed with a diabetes mellitus. So during this time, there will be intensive medical nutrition therapy. This is part of where there is a a gap between nutritionists and dietitians. Maybe from these three parts is a nutritionist part, where we always advise give nutrition prevention from them. But one the subject or the individual fail to comply with all the suggestions, then they will get a disease. Then after that we need to pass to a dietitian, because dietitian, they are more focusing on the clinical conditions of nutritional status of the population of the adult or individual. And when they become chronic, what happens is that the medical nutrition therapy and patient education to enable them to self-manage, and also how to prevent the complications. And of course, when you are deaf, there's nothing more that you can do. As I mentioned just now, when you are in the resilient and healthy, so it means that your metabolic systems is still in homeostasis and organ are function at an optimal level. For the neutral guidance, this is the nutritionist part. Ni bukan part lagi dietitian ni baru nutritionist part, where we still keep encourage people to adequate intake of certain nutrients. Don't taking too much, just taking a little of certain nutrients. But this is the best mantra when you have interventions among adults. The best is to advise them to moderate, variety and balance. Moderate, variety, balance. You have to take moderate, must be a variety food and must be balanced. Next just now adalah state of nutrition adalah altered substrate availability. So during this state, okay, there are early subclinical state of nutrition harm when intake doesn't meet the needs. So what what is the best guideline during this stage? To inform people, if you are still continue with this kind of lifestyle, you have a high risk to get etc. And still we keep encouraging for the people or individual or adults to eat healthy food and also to choose a healthy lifestyle. Then another continuum of nutrition changes adalah non-specific signs symptoms. Masih lagi degil, they don't want to change their lifestyle. So during this stage, what happen is that the best dietary guidance adalah to target specific risk factor and observable signs and symptoms. It means that, okay, apa masalah actually this individual, whether he has problem in terms of nutrient intake, dietary intake, or he has problem in terms of the physical activity. So this part is very important for a nutritionist to look at what are the risk factors and observe the sign and symptom. And during this stage also, we need to measure and monitor for progress to halt or reverse risk factor for diseases. If there is a chance for them to reverse back from having for getting a hypertension, then this is the best time before they come out with a specific sign and symptoms. Next adalah bila dah clinical condition. So memang sah that patient they have hypertension, for example. So definitely they will have the very obvious sign and symptom of illness that present. And these are present through the medical diagnosis. For example, the individual have cancer or osteoporosis of type 2 diabetes and depression. So the best part, this is where we pass to the dietitian. Okay, dietitian, aku dah nasihat, aku dah macam-macam cakap, but this pakcik is very degil one, and now he already developed a diabetes mellitus or hypertension. So I want to pass to you, and you lah akan advise the adult. So the guidance during this time is very, very challenging and difficult because you already got the symptoms, you already have the disease. So intensive intervention that needed, where we call as a medical nutrition therapy, MNT, that you are going to learn, MNT or therapeutic behavior change programs. Before you, orang kata you mati tu lah, then you become very chronic condition ni very, very for example, structural damage to coronary arteries, vessels, and you already have a metastatic cancer, you already lost your kidney function, and you also are already blind. Okay, so during this time, what happened, as a dietitian, the best is you to aim at managing the condition on how they can control during that conditions. To reverse back dah tak boleh dah, because dia dah di tahap the chronic. And just we can help them to prevent further complications or because of the conditions, because of the chronic conditions, and reduce degree of disability and optimize the quality of life. This time this is the best part lah, as a dietitian that we can do among the patient. Last, terminal illness lah dengan death lah. Ni dah final stage, dia continual. Memang tak boleh buat apa-apa lah. Which is our body already shut down because of the advanced complication. Okay. Number 2, we look at on the MDG. So this is I mentioned just now. There are 14 key messages where basically I want you to look at on the MDGs. Okay, key message 1, key message 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Dan kalau kita nampak ni, the MDG as I mentioned during our principles of human nutrition, when we start with the key message 5 until key message, 12, 5 to 12 is about the food pyramid, okay. So please read these Malaysian dietary guidelines and look at on the key messages. I think you already read last year because you have this assignment, okay, your principle of human nutrition. Okay, so these are based on the food pyramid. Okay, this is another very famous exam questions looking at the physical activity recommendations among adults. So which is the key message 3. I'm one of the author for this key message 3. Be physically active every day. That's for children and adolescents. For this one, I'm a writer for key message 6. Okay, so please, when I say please, most probably there will be chance for this question to come out in the exams. Okay, this is the Malaysian physical activity pyramid. You're always exposed to Malaysian food pyramid, but this is a Malaysian physical activity pyramid where you can say that every day we should be active every day in as many ways as you can. More is better. For example, walk to the shop, gardening, and etc. So 5 to 7 days a week, sama ada sekurang-kurangnya 5 kali ataupun 7 kali dalam masa seminggu. You have to accumulate at least 30 to 60 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity. Setengah jam atau 1 jam ataupun 15 to 30 minutes of vigorous. So if you want to do a moderate intensity aerobic physical activity, you have to do half an hour or 1 hour. But if you want to do a very vigorous activity, then you can do 15 to 30 minutes per day, okay, per day. And or you can combine both lah, at least 5 days a week. 5 days a week. For example, football, basketball, badminton, tennis, sepak takraw, dancing, and etc. And this also is very important, a part of the moderate and also vigorous physical activity. 2 to 3 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week, okay, we should be able to participate in muscle strengthening activities, okay, seperti stretch, partial sit up, push up, squat, yoga, tai chi, skipping rope, okay, weightlifting, and also sit and reach exercise. So these 2 to 3 days a week is suggested to adult in Malaysia, okay, that increase the strength and endurance of the muscles on 2 or more 3 days a week, okay. And last but not least, we have to limit our sedentary behavior. Okay, in terms of overweight and obesity, we know that there are multiple causes of obesity and how you can relate them in the assessment. So last but not least is the last one, as I mentioned just now. Okay, 1 in 2 adults in Malaysia were overweight and obese, and 55% are females and 64% Indian, and mostly happen around 55 to 59 years old. Okay, and 1 in 2 adults also in Malaysia had abdominal obesity, and 65% is a female and 68 is Indian, and mostly happen 72% among 62 to 65 years old. So major diseases that are associated with overweight, obesity, and obesity are diabetes, high blood pressure, as well as heart diseases. Actually, there are many things that we can reduce the risk of being overweight and obesity. Of course, number 1, eat a healthy diet. Be physically active. Don't drink alcohol. Stop smoking, and please try to manage the stress well. Okay, there are many types. Okay, you already know the classification of overweight and obesity. So you know the classification BMI, but make sure also you know the classifications in terms of the waist circumference. For example, in Malaysia, okay, in Malaysia, wait Okay, so for example, in South Asia, for more than 90 for male waist circumference can classify as obese, and obesity more than 80%, no, more than 80 cm for the female. So if you have more than 80 centimeter, it means that you have classification of overweight and obesity among female in Asia, but in male is about more than 90 centimeter. 90 cm for waist circumference. Okay, so these are all the nutrition assessment that you can do to identify the nutrition status of an adult. For example, anthropometric, food and nutrition history. You look at in terms of physical activity, or for the clinical part, you can go to the lab. Okay, looking on the lipid profile and glucose. There must be a medical and health history, social history, nutrition knowledge, attitudes, and readiness to change. These are all the nutritional assessment of adults with overweight and obesity, as well as obesity-related diseases and conditions. Okay, last but not least, putting it all together, we should know that adults need variety of healthy foods according to the Malaysian Dietary Guideline or Malaysian Food Pyramid. And we should know that moderate, balance, variety. Okay, moderate, balance, variety, moderate. So all this mantra is very important to guide the food choices among an adult, and positive attitudes about food and eating should be encouraged among an adult, and they should have a balance with discipline. Okay, so this message is to follow the principles of variety, moderation, and balance in choosing a diet. Okay, that's all for adult and nutrition.